Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and today we're going to be taking a look at Neo Champion Silver and Shiny Mega Tyranitar. Took me a while, but I actually got the name right. Not that it's gonna stay around for long, because in the overview video for all of the sync pairs of March, I kept calling him Significant Silver, despite us already having Significant Silver and Sneasel. I don't know why. Maybe because this probably should have been a Signisuit. I don't know. Whatever. I don't really care that much. It's fine. We got ourselves Neo Champion Silver. I almost said Signisuit again. I'm fucking screwed. And Mega Tyranitar coming tomorrow for part 2? 3? I don't know. Part 2/3 of the 4.5 anniversary celebration here. He's going to be dropping on March 1st alongside the Lodge, especially Lodge Skyla. I would be kind of, I don't know if I'm lying or not if I say I'm more hyped for Lodge Skyla, but granted I won't be able to actually get her on the March 1st, so oh well. Pray for like 300 points, please. Whatever. Anyway, so that's not the point of this video. Let's go over Silver here, do an overview of his ability, see how strong he is, because this guy is strong. He is definitely the best rock striker in the game, for sure. I don't know. Probably the best rock unit, too. I mean, Signisuit Diantha's got a lot of value, and so does Paulo, but Silver does more damage, so maybe he's just more valuable, I don't know, but either way, I like Paulo and Diantha, too, so, I mean... Either way, he's still very, very strong. So he's not really... Their roles are different. So, I mean, in terms of damage, Silver can't be beat by any other rock character by, like, a fucking mile. Alright? But anyway, whatever. So let's go into his abilities here. He's got the Physical Striker roll with the Sprint EX roll, which is a very useful EX roll for him, and we'll go into why a little bit later. He's going to be dropping on March 1st, leaving on April 8th, giving you about a little under 40 days to go for this guy. You've got yourself a little over a month, which is a good amount of time. You can definitely, if you want to choose between pitying him or Gita, you can pity probably one of them, because we are getting 30,000 gems, or rather have already started to get those 30,000 gems for this month, or I guess for March, because it's still the 29th, you know, thank you leap year. Happy leap year, guys. Yay. But whatever. So yeah, he's gonna be dropping then and leaving then, so you can probably pity Silver or Gita if you want to. He's got, obviously, the Rock, Johto, Rival Champion, Battle Partner theme skills, and his stats. So, looking at his stats, he's got 689 health, 153 defense, 132 special defense. Pretty bad defensive stats, mediocre. Actually, the HP's fine. No, the HP's fine. 284 speed, 100, and then 390 physical attack. Pretty low for physical attack. Not like low, but I mean, it's on the lower end of, like, high-level strikers, in my opinion. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because he's going to Mega Evolve into, obviously, Mega Tyranitar, which is then going to put his attack stat up to 468, which is very respectable. And that's not even considering the fact that he does have 6-star EX, right? So we look at Silver stats here, Mega Evolve, okay. Mega Evolve him, 491 attack here. Okay, sorry. 467 attack here, because I did have the Sprint EX roll up, right? And then he's also going to get 183 defense from his 153 defense, right? So his defense definitely goes up a lot, which is good. But let's also consider he's going to be 6-star EX, because you should 6-star EX him. He's got very respectable HP here, 172 health, 172 special defense, 193 defense. These are better defensive stats. 324 speed, still pretty mediocre, but he does have ways of mitigating that. And then 430 attack. But when he Mega Evolves, his attack goes over 500, and he's got 231 defense. So he's got a lot of ways to buff his attack. Not to mention the Sprint EX roll, which also applies offensive buffs. So he's actually got over 400 special attack that he just does not use. And over 539 attack, which is really, really strong. So, oh, and of course his speed does go up, so the Sprint EX roll is good for gauge management, I guess. So he's got very respectable stats. Of course, 6-star EX and Mega Evolution are recommended for those extra stat buffs. Looking at the moves, he has Stone Edge, which is a 2-gauge move because he does have Fuel Economy. Fuel Economy reduces the gauge needed to use a user's move by 1. Well, all of the users' moves by 1, and it doesn't decrease power. So this is still normal base power Stone Edge. Not that Stone Edge exactly is a hard-hitting move to begin with. It's 100 power. I don't know why they opted to make this move so weak in Masters. I mean, it's not like weak, but like in the main series, you know, isn't Stone Edge like 120 power or something? Like 80 accuracy? I mean, they kept most of that about accurate, but then Hyper Beam is out here hitting for like the levels of a Sync move. Oh well, whatever. Either way, Stone Edge, he could have afforded to be like 150 power. Come on, you could have done that. But it's fine, it's whatever. Crits land more easily, not that it really matters. He's also got Johto Passion. He is our Johto Circle Setter for the physical allies, increasing physical moves next of all allies by 1, as well as applying the Johto Circle, which is a maximum of a 40% physical damage increase and 14% physical damage reduction increase. Generally, the bad thing with this is that you're not likely to run him with too many Johto partners, because he doesn't really have any Johto partners that directly benefit off of what he is doing that's not just kind of suboptimal. You can run him with supports. I don't think there's a real massive issue with running him with too many Johto supports, but also do consider you could just run him with, like, Argenta for physical moves next, or some, like, defensive debuffing support, whatever it may be, right? You could opt to run him with someone like Variety Falconer here, who's got some offensive debuffs, and I think he can debuff defenses? I think, yeah, okay, he randomly lowers stats, so I guess he can debuff defenses, but it's not great. Okay, so whatever. I guess you can run with Variety Falconer if you want to. He doesn't really work too well with Proton. Jasmine's garbage, but she does debuff defense, so I guess there's that if you want to do that. Doesn't really synergize at all with... Doesn't really... I guess with Claire... You can make something work with Claire. Maybe. It does. She does ignore, like, the power up from weather terrains and zones, but that doesn't work for sand. I mean, yeah, this is just kind of what I mean. Like, Silver's partners aren't really the most synergistic with him. You can run Lyra for a little bit of physical moves next year, Special Costume Lyra for a tiny bit of it, but really, again, it's just not worth it. She could apply also some stuff like Seeking Damage Guard, Sands of Time for gauge management, but really, again, it's just not worth bringing her for that 10% Johto boost over, like, a physical moves next buffer or something like that. You may be able to run him with Signet Silver, right? You know, 2 silvers together probably isn't the worst idea, but do consider Silver here. Signet Silver does want Hail, and Silver doesn't apply Hail, right? So, I mean, if you want to be Hailless, sure, I guess. Uzini synergizes poorly with... See, you can go down the list, and there's not too many characters he works too well with. He can work... I guess he can work with Bugsy and Scyther, but he's got about the same level of defensive capability as, like, Falconer. He doesn't really work too well with. Signet Suit Giovanni, I mean... You can make Giovanni work here. 300 base power Mega Kicks is not really too weak for sure. So I mean, if you can deal with the gauge, then you can actually probably make him work with Giovanni, because Giovanni does have Surging Sand too for a 20% multiplier. So maybe you can make him work with Signature Giovanni. But point being, most of these strategies you can make work with Silver are suboptimal. I think his probably best support is Special Costume Jasmine with her physical moves next buffing ability. But do consider the gauge on that team is going to be really fucking bad, probably because Silver is not really the most gauge efficient unit. Despite having fuel economy, his speed is not great. Jasmine's speed is equally as not great. Like, look at 6-star EX Jasmine, she's got like 323 speed. It's not great. She does have Catalyst on the sync move, but for one, you probably want to sync with Silver, and for two, again, it's just, that's on the sync move, so anytime before or after that, your gauge is going to be not too great. But whatever, either way. The thing with Silver is that he obviously applies for one Johto character, plus you get a unconditional 10% boost anyway. So with Silver just on the team, he does get a 20% buff, plus the 8% damage reduction. So maybe you combine him with Holiday Jasmine, and then maybe someone like Signature Diantha, Apollo, whatever, and you can still get a good buff. Maybe, whatever. It depends on how you want to work it, and we'll see. But then he's got his trainer move here, Eye on Glory, 1 use targeting himself. It raises his attack by 6, his crit by 3, and then when in Sandstorm, it reduces sync countdown by 1 and raises accuracy by 1. This is a really good trainer move. Maxing attack, maxing crit, no condition, pretty much. This is Anniversary Lily's trainer move pretty much on crack. So, very strong ability for sure. Sync countdown's nice, especially being a sprinty external character. Combine that with like Head Start 1 as a lucky skill, or other characters that can reduce sync countdown, mostly Paulo. Paulo is a good partner for him, and you can get some really good stuff cooking. And then accuracy is good for making your Stone Edges not miss, though they will still miss, actually, because +1 accuracy is not enough to save you from your Stone Edge accuracy. Very fun. And then his big magnum opus move, I guess you could say, Massive Rock Slide, 200 power, targeting all enemies. Activation condition is when the team uses a sync move, and deactivation condition is when the move is used. So it's like Ray, I think Nemone Is it Nimona that has... No, I think Nimona's just when speed's activated. It's like Neo Champion Nate. It's like Ray. There's other examples that... Neo Champion Marnie, right? Those type of characters that get this buddy move activated on their sync move. And it's strong. It's a very strong sync move because it makes the enemies flinch. It targets all opponents, first of all. It makes the enemy flinch. It ignores passes that would reduce the damage of this attack. Ignores passes that would make the... that would protect the target against a crit, ignores endurance, and the power of the move is not lowered even if there are multiple targets. So, yeah, he's able to ignore the split damage effect of this 200 base power move. He's able to do, I think, unconditional crits. Well, yeah, he's got guaranteed crit pretty much from the training move, right? So it doesn't matter. He ignores vigilance, he ignores endurance, he ignores damage reduction abilities such as like acute senses or whatever the other one's called. I forget. Damn. But he ignores damage reduction abilities is what is, right? And then guaranteed flinch. So he's got that same level of damage as, like, Neo Champion Marnie's Dark, whatever the fuck it's called, like Dark Fiery Wrath or something. Fierce Fiery Wrath. Yeah, it's got the same level of power here. But she does have, I think, a higher special attack stat overall, so hers is probably going to do more. Actually, no. Will it? I don't know. I don't know. But it's got, like, the same level of power as probably Marnie's Neo Champion Wrath. Yeah, sure. We'll call it that. Sure. And then it's got Ray's guaranteed flinch in as a combination, right? So it's like a combination of those two buddy moves. It's very strong. It's going to hit very hard. And the guaranteed flinch and obviously ignoring these damage reduction abilities is going to be extremely useful for a multitude of battles, right? So very strong move there that you get to use every sync move, which is why the Sprint EX roll plus the -1 sync countdown on the trainer move here is so useful. This just makes it so you can get to your buddy move faster and quicker and get to your next ones faster and quicker, right? That's the goal of these big sprint units right now is get to your sync move as fast as possible so you can sync, get this high power buddy move and just wipe the enemy off the face of the map. You know, they want to be blitzing, they want to be super fast, they want to be super strong. And they kind of succeed in that. I do admit they do succeed in that, and being very strong. So, other than that, going to the passive skills, he's got Johto Pride, increasing allies' physical moves damage. So he's got this plus the Johto Passion. This is the biggest thing about, like, circle setters, is that for Neo Champion Nate and Silver specifically, you are able to combine the circle effect with your master passive and get essentially double the buff, right? Because the master passive is already really strong in its own right, but then you also combine that with the circle, and you got yourself an even stronger move here to utilize, right? You got more buffs for your team, you've got more buffs for yourself. Very, very good. And then his passive skills, which is Destructive Instinct, which causes a Sandstorm on entry and extends a Sandstorm when the user is on the field, and it powers up moves and sync moves during a Sandstorm. So this is a very good power-up. For one, it sets Sandstorm and extends it. Obviously, he has no other method of setting Sandstorm, but when he Mega Evolves, this passive will actually reactivate. So you'll actually get another entry, an extension of Sandstorm when Silver Mega Evolves, which is going to be extremely useful for making sure Sand stays up. I did forget about that when I initially looked at him. I forgot about the Mega Evolution activating abilities twice, like entry-based abilities twice. So this is very, very strong and very, very useful. Also, the power-up for the move and sync move is unknown at the time, but we can infer from Adaman that it might be a 50% buff, because I'm pretty sure Adaman's power buff from his from his similar passive is 50% from having sun damage, or having sun up, right? Time flows over Hisui, making Weather Sunny on entry, and making Weather Sunny after the sync move, and powers up moves when sunny, right? But this also does apply to his sync move, so that could be a potential 50% multiplier on his sync move, which is good for a 1 out of 5 character that does want to actually Mega Evolve, right? Then he's got Silver's Rebellious Spirit, which powers up moves of all allies during a Sandstorm and protects allies from Sandstorm damage. This is like Irida's passive, where she's able to power up allies' damage in Hail by 20%, and of course protecting allies from Sandstorm damage. So if these work like Adaman and Irida's abilities, this means Silver himself is getting a 50% buff on his sync move and regular moves from this passive, and a 20% damage buff on his regular moves from this passive, for a total of a 70% power buff on his Stone Edges and Massive Rock Slides, which is pretty good, right? But obviously do consider that is speculation. We won't know until Silver actually drops what those multipliers are, but we can infer there. And anyway, even if it isn't those exact numbers, like let's say that both passes are 20%, it's still a good buff, right? 20% for both for his moves is a total of a 40% buff, and it's still quite strong. So whether we're making assumptions on the high end or low end, it's still a pretty good buff for him and his allies. So then you got fuel economy for reducing gauges, we know. But other than that, that is pretty much what Silver looks like at 1 out of 5. He's pretty strong, right? He's pretty strong for a 1 out of 5 striker, right? Stone Edge is not the strongest move in the world, but do consider he's got a pretty good attack stat if you do 6-star EX and Mega Evolve him at 515. Plus, he's got potentially up to 70% in total multipliers for his own damage, just at 1 out of 5 here, and plus the potential 50% Sync Nuke multiplier, Sand Extension, Johto Circle, plus the Johto Pride Master passive. He's going to be able to apply a good bit of support to his allies. Definitely going to be a very, very good run alongside like Paulo and Diantha. Quite strong setup there for sure. Yeah, and he's got the sync countdown for a little bit of utility there. Just overall a very strong sync pair. And the massive rock slide is going to be hitting very, very hard every sync rotation for sure. So Silver's very, very strong at 1 out of 5, but let's go ahead and look at his grid. 1 out of 5, pretty much nothing besides like Headstrong. 2 out of 5, he gets attack up. Trinidad NPR is mostly useless. Sandcastle and Soothing Sand are mediocre. You can, but then there's also Circle HP Recovery and Circle Gauge Acceleration. You can combine like the Soothing Sand and the Circle HP Recovery, and Silver may actually be able to get quite a lot of healing out of this. So like in maybe like Legendary Arena solos or duos or something, potentially having these passives could be good because, again, Silver sets Sand and extends it. He's also got the Johto Circle, so you can get a lot of healing from this. And of course, Sandcastle, move gauge up to, all that stuff. But then again, other than that, he's got a few attack up nodes and Stone Age move gauge refresh. Really not worth it. Worth 2 out of 5 unless you want like very specific stuff for potentially like the Legendary Gauntlet. Either way, whatever. 3 out of 5 is obviously where he gains so much stuff. Sandstorm, he gains Team Special Damage Reduction 3. This is mostly to mitigate his low special defense, but this also means, I mean, he could be a decent character to bring for special defense buffing, right? Because he is also able to apply physical damage reduction with the Johto Circle and the Johto Master passive, so this is his way of applying special damage reduction. So he could potentially be very, very solid for just increasing overall team bulk, but really this node's probably not worth going for just due to the stuff you would be missing out on. Piercing Gaze, some moves never miss. Very, very good if you're facing an enemy with evasion buffs or accuracy debuffs. And Stone Edge, obviously, with 80 accuracy is not the greatest. But really, just pick up Stone Edge accuracy plus 10, and then you got plus 1 accuracy here on the trainer move. So, again, this is not really that valuable outside of those few situations where you may face evasion buffing enemies or accuracy debuffing enemies. He's got the sync nodes. He does have propulsion on the trainer move, which combine that with the extra sync countdown he already gets, and maybe again Head Start 1 or an ally that can buff sync countdown, such as Paulo. You could potentially get a lot of sync countdown from this, which would be very, very helpful. But really, you're probably not going to be able to pick this up just due to energy constraints. Even with the grid energy update, it may not be the greatest. We also have Entry Physical Boost 2, increasing physical moves next on entry. If you can do a lot of ramping, this may be useful because you can use the trainer move, you can set Johto Circle, you can then Mega Evolve with Silver, and then you can use his massive Rock Slide. So that's pretty good of an idea to make do, but do consider that would require a decent bit of sync countdown, and that would also just require you actually being able to pick up this despite its energy restraints, which is 7 energy. That's the biggest problem with these two abilities. These are both very good abilities, but they do have a little bit of energy constraints, so it could be very, very iffy. Like, maybe something like this, if you want the sync node up here. I don't know. Other than that, he's got Sandblaster and Johto, Circle, physical moves, sync move up 9, applying a 90% power buff whenever the Johto Circle is activated for his sync move, and the Sandblaster 9 for powering up the sync move by another 90% when Sand is activated. So combine that with the extra sync move power up from his Destructive Instinct here, and Silver has got probably 230%. At minimum, he's got about 200% in total sync nuke multipliers, which is good for sure. But do consider it's not going to make him like the top level. Well, he'll probably be up there in like Striker sync nukes, but I mean, he's not going to be like the top best. Mostly just due to the fact that Mega Evolved sync pairs have the big hindrance of a very low base power sync nuke, right? 176 power plus the nodes 226. Pretty iffy, right? Tech EX would fix that, but he does have Sprint EX, so clearly there's that. But Sprint EX is probably just better anyway because of how his sync nuke, or sorry, his buddy move functions anyway, just in my opinion. By the way, 2 nodes for activating a very high-powered sync move. Very, very nice for sure. Definitely recommend picking those up. Hell, maybe pick up something like this. I don't know. He's also got Johto Circle Extension, which is extremely useful as well. Again, the Johto Circle is useful to pick up just due to its stacking properties with the Johto Pride Master passive, especially if you do plan to run him with a few of his okay Johto supports, such as, again, Holiday Jasmine, maybe Variety Falconer. You know, one of these characters you may want to work with him that's Johto. You can make do, and the Johto Circle will be even more helpful there. So having the extension up is good for not only that, right, but also because you do need it for your Sync Nuke to be activated. So having that up and just having that free, essentially free 20% multiplier for your moves over the course of a longer period of time, just due to the extension, is very good. Like, extensions, even 30%, are so good. Like, I've used Akari's extension on her Dark Damage field, which has about the same, seemingly the same level of lasting time as, like, Weather and all of that. So being able to make utilization of these damage, I know the good effects of these 30% power buffs, or 30% time buffs to these circles, damage fields, weather, terrain, zone, all of the stuff. 30% buffs is very, very major for sure, and definitely very, very helpful, and definitely worth going for, right? Because it is right next to a sync node that you're already going to go for. Other than that, he has Sandstorm hit, physical boost up 1/9, increasing physical moves next when the attack move is successful in Sandstorm. This, yeah, I mean, it's strong, right? It's unconditionally very, very strong. It does cost -1 energy, and this is where I would say that picking up the extra energy for Silver's grid is extremely impactful, because this is with 60 energy here, 61 technically, so just if you're not a new player, and obviously most people probably do have like a buildup of sync orbs, right? Spend the 20,000 sync orbs to get +2 energy on Silver, because this node is good. +1 physical moves next makes Stone Edge a lot more powerful, because it already is not like the strongest move ever, right? It makes it better there, and then of course obviously physical moves next for your massive rock slide is going to be even better. So this is the best way to power up Silver for sure. He's got 2 good nodes for a sync move, extension on the circle, which is making it so you don't have to set circle as often, and you're getting that 20, 30, 40% buff on your moves. Combine that with the master passive as well, right? And it's a pretty good buff. So, and then already again in the base kit, he's got up to a probably 70% total multiplier for his regular moves, and then probably a 50% multiplier for his sync move. Combine that with Sandblaster and the Johto Circle sync move up. He's got a lot of overall damage for his sync move, right? So Silver is definitely very, very strong for a striker, definitely a very, very strong rock character. Probably works very, very well with Diantha, despite Diantha not being a Johto character, because obviously she sets Rock Zone, which is very good, and of course she sets and debuffs enemy defense and applies some good AoE damage, and just good damage of her own. Diantha kind of does want to Mega Evolve, but really it's not that bad, honestly. Especially if you do a 5 out of 5 Diantha where you can get Rock Zone extension. She's an even better partner at that point. So yeah. Silver and Diantha works pretty well together. They both do kind of want to Mega Evolve, which is annoying, but I think you can work past that. Paul is also good because he sets even more Sand extension, extending duration of Sandstorm and protecting allies from Sand damage. Silver already does the latter and the former, but then obviously both extensions stack, which is really, really good. Silver's also got a ton of methods for Sync Countdown, being a Sprint innate Sync pair of his own, so you're actually able to probably get a lot of Sync Countdown from Paulo to get a lot more massive rock slides out of Silver here as well. And Paulo does have actual bulk utility due to having the Support EX role, so 800 health, 270 defenses. He's able to actually buff defense and special defense by 4 when using his Willful Howl. So especially in shorter battles, you're actually going to be able to probably use Paulo as a defensive character while having Diantha and Silver be your main damage dealers. So you can make a lot of good use of Silver in with a few of these other rock characters for sure, and it'll look quite good. And you can probably just put him up with a good few other rock characters, like maybe Signature Hilda, Special Costume Hilda, Classic Blue. Whoever you may want to put him up with, you could probably make them look a little bit better by working them with Silver, because, I mean, he's good for supporting allies with the Johto Circle, as well as the Johto Master Passive, and powering up allies' damage in Sand, right? So any Sand benefiter also works well. So, like, Emmet also definitely benefits a lot from Silver's existence. It may be more effective now to replace Ingo with someone else in order to make it so Silver and Emmet can actually work together as a good team. I'll definitely showcase that for sure, because I love Emmet. So any buff to Emmet, it's good to me. But yeah, this is the big thing, best thing with silver here is to probably go for that 82 energy just so you can actually pick up all of the stuff. The sync nodes are quite valuable to pick up on, so I wouldn't try and miss out on them. But if you are willing to maybe miss out on the sync nodes, I don't know what you would go for in place of. You got 8 energy to work with. You can maybe go for Soothing Stand, Sandcastle. Circle Gauge Acceleration is probably good because you do want to have a little bit more gauge management. Whatever you want to do, but again, just spend the 20,000 sync orbs. It's not that big of a cost. I would recommend it, but obviously if you're a new player and whatnot and can't afford that, then that's fair. That's entirely fair, so just be sure to ration properly. I've got like over 700,000 sync orbs. I know a lot of players have probably a couple 100,000 just from being older players and not having a place to use them, right? So I figured that most people probably will be able to do this without much issue, but of course if you're new, maybe you can't, which is fair. Other than that, I mean, if we want to look at Silver's grid energy, I mean, if you want to go to a 5 out of 5 Silver, and you're a big Silver fan, you can maybe pick up the entry physical boost, but you can't even pick up the propulsion at that point, so I don't even know if that's worth it or not, and you can't even pick that up, so I think you're mostly just going to be having to miss out on these abilities, which really sucks, because they're good in their own right, and they could be good for Silver, but just a lack of grid energy and just better tiles in general it's kind of screwing them a little bit, but whatever. So yeah, that's my overview for Neo Champion Silver and Mega Tyranitar. He's definitely a top tier character for sure. Definitely the best of the best for Rock. Apollo and Diantha are obviously crazy as well, and they both work well with Silver. So I mean, who cares if either of them are the best? They all work in synergy together, so it doesn't matter. They work in harmony. It's nice. But yeah, so let me know if you're going to be going for Neo Champion Silver or not down in the comments below. I've got to for content's sake and also for the fact that I like Mega Tyranitar a little bit too much for me to actually try and skip it now. So I'd probably regret it if I skipped him. The Adam and Nirda are very enticing, but let's hope that I get lucky, especially with how Gita treated me and those 100 free Pokefair tickets. Or 100 free sync pairs with a chance of Pokefairs, I guess. Clearly, chances of Pokefairs. Good God. Watch those videos if you haven't. You know, the Summon Shaft as well as the video where I do my ticket summons. Go watch those. Give me money. I'm kidding. Not really. I'm not really kidding at all, but I mean, whatever. Yeah, I'll see y'all later. I hope y'all enjoy.